during part of rehabbing this building, early on, Ken Kollemeyer came in the door while the whole place is a wreck and bricks are everywhere and we're breaking down the glass windows and putting doors in the front. And he stumbles in here and he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Working on this building." And he walks over to a part of the building. It's the worst part of the building. I mean, it's dark, it's dungy, like there's just sheetrock on the walls and just the ceiling, the roof's leaking. And he's just kind of looking around, and I'm up on a lift working, and I'm just thinking, man, there's something to this guy. I guess I should come down, which I typically don't. I just kind of stay up on the lift working and stop. I come down, and he's like, "What would you think about putting a brewery here?" And I'm just, I'm literally immediately like, "Well, I can see a brewery, but hey, we should go back over here. This is the best part of the building, like." And he's like, "No, it needs to be right here." And so I was like, "Well, I mean, I guess we could." And we start talking, and he's very passionate about beer, and he's very passionate about creating jobs, very passionate about this area. Has a ranch outside of town, has cows. Come to find out, is a doctor, and he's going to be retiring soon, and wants to move out to his ranch. And this has always been a passion of his, making beer. And so the more we talk, the more I'm like, well, I have the construction skills to finish out this end of the building and do something amazing. And if you want to partner with me, I will do that. And if you will, fund what it's going to take to do that, and we can both win on the journey. And so we agreed to work together and kind of give and take. And I'd help him, and he could help me, and we would sort it out. So once we went down that road, I mean, we have a world-class brewery that is set up for distribution. It's set up for telling the Nocona story. We have an amazing restaurant and tap room in the front, and it really all came together on the goal is on restoring this building, creating jobs, and changing our community. And through that journey, we've launched 12 different flavors. Nocona Light is my favorite. It has it's just an amazing product that, interesting enough, my brother-in-law, who lives in Nocona with my little sister April, came on the scene right when we pulled the trigger. And I'm like, "Hey, yeah, Dave, what are you doing?" And he's like, this and that. And he had worked for me before on flipping houses. I'm like, "Look, I don't know anything about breweries, but we got, we can do this, and what did you think about coming on?" And his backstory has an amazing palate. His mom's a chef, just on flavors, and then on his journey, he'd been doing a lot of things with pumps and moving water and irrigation, and then wiring pumps on some AV stuff he's helped me with. And it's like, listen, a wire is a wire. A line is a line. We can figure this out. And so we ended up putting the whole brewery together and putting all the tanks in and tying it all in. And on that journey, he learned everything about the brewery. And then when we first started, we have different brewmasters that come through that were training him. And then now he is our head brewer because he knows everything about the brewery. And so, like, the Nocona Light is his recipe, and it's unbelievable. And so to see his palate and to see his growth and to see the other jobs that were created that I wasn't expecting, and I'm not really much of a beer person, so I maybe don't appreciate it as much as others, but to see what goes into a beer, I had no idea. Purifying the water, to all the different levels, to keeping the tanks at this temperature, to the local grains we use, to what hops and how long, and then how does it age, and the science that goes into. And like with Ken Kollemeyer, we have a full lab that you can test parts per billion and what happened in that can after a month. And I mean, all that's very interesting to me, being a system person and being in efficiency. So how that brewery flows, a lot of that has to do with my efficiency background on this is how technology needs to flow, this is how these things need to work. And then from Ken Kollemeyer being a doctor and coming at it from a scientific we have a really amazing brewery, and definitely something if you hadn't experienced, come out to Nocona and experience Nocona Beer and Brewery.